Amazing audience. We are live. We are in Naperville.
Yes, sir.
It's been a beautiful day.
Been a pretty nice day up here in Chicago.
Yeah, the lights is amazing. Look at the view. Look
I
how
know.
great it looks.
Can't beat it. We got the sun down. It's cooling off a little bit. The birds chirping.
Yeah.
Crickets making some noises. So
Curt Stowers.
good to see you again, sir.
Same here. Well, it's the first time we're meeting face to face, right?
Yeah, it's amazing with technology. As far as we've talked so many times and everything, but it's even though it's the first time face to face, it's like we've seen each other multiple times with technology.
Yes, I know this guy. But it's a great pleasure to connect with you. So many things that I want to say, but let's start first with what's the update. So last time we spoke about F5.
Right.
Right? We spoke about Subway to some level.
Yep.
Yeah? And then we went into the earliest childhood memory,
Yep.
which was you riding your bike, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that might have been there.
Yeah. So
Indicator, which you just came from.
yes, which was amazing because we stayed in what he pronounced as Decatur, or we pronounce as Decatur, right? Or Decatur or whatever, right? But definitely that was fascinating to see, that thread of connection that
Right.
we would be there for the night, right?
Yeah.
We had barbecue, which was amazing. I had catfish. Amanda had fall off the bone.
Ribs.
Ribs, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So what's up? Like, what's the update? What are you doing?
Still doing a lot of the same things. As far as I've now had my own business for 4 years.
Right.
So that's
Congratulations.
thank you, sir. It's grown very nicely. Things going well there. Personal, professional, spiritual. I think all three dimensions are going along fairly well. Fairly happy with things. Learned a lot over the last 4 years being out on my own and running your own business and just interacting with the community. Become a lot more involved in the community here in Naperville.
Yeah.
Just enjoying life.
Now F5. Tell me about F5, please.
Sure. F5 is a fee-only financial planning firm, and the F5 stands for Faith, Family, Friends, Fitness, and Finance. And really trying to approach financial planning from a more holistic approach, looking at all the aspects of life and trying to help people. And what we like to say is we like to focus on freedom and significance. So freedom, financial freedom, as far as having the financial resources to do what you want, when you want, how you want, and the significance making an impact in people's lives. So what's significant to me may be different than what's significant to you, but we try and find out for the folks we work with what is important to them in those 5 dimensions, and then help them make sure that they understand that money is nothing more than a resource that lets you do things. Try and get their focus away from the money itself and get it on what they want to do, and then it's just a tool, and try and get them a little bit less attached to it and think of it as something that they can use to enjoy life with.
This translates to an experience that you had.
Yep.
Very important, right?
Yeah. I think we're all shaped by the things that we face, and things went pretty well as far as for me from a career standpoint, and financially things went good, but I'm not sure I spent as much time on those other 4 F's as I should have. And so as things changed with my previous career, and I decided to make a transition out, those other 4 F's, which I knew were important but I hadn't really spent the time with, they really kind of lifted to a different level. So I've really been focused on each of those over the last few years.
That's good. Now, I saw his book case. He is reading a lot, folks. I remember you said that you read like 20, 25 books a year. Are you still keeping that up?
Yeah, I'd say that's about the number that I read still, as far as a lot of business nonfiction still. That's one space. But then I've spent a lot of time on relationship books, as far as relationships books, as far as relationship with Christ, relationship with your wife, relationship with other people. There's a whole collection of books out there that deal with biblical principles without being reading the Bible, but talking about different verses and talking about how it pertains to different situations, and that's been very, very interesting.
What's interesting? Like something that made you smile there?
Well, I think before I started to study, I had this picture of the Bible of being kind of this old Stoic book and not really applicable. Kind of, it's God's word and it's important, but what's been interesting has just been seeing how much is there that kind of guides you on what you want to do things. It's kind of a guidebook on what happens there. So I spent a lot of time reading books from authors, and they're kind of blowing out the principles and talking about different things, and it's just been very educational. It's something I'd never been exposed to, I can't. Some people read the Bible and just start reading it. And that's not something I can do.
Yeah.
But the stories, as far as where somebody takes a verse or verses and starts kind of expanding on it and talking about it contextually and what's going on in life and everything, it's been very enjoyable.
One of the segments we cover is your own unique real shoes or slippers, right?
Yeah.
Or sandals,
Yep.
right? Which, I mean, sandals do fit right, in terms of what we're doing, right?
So you don't know this, but there's a story here.
Tell
Okay,
me.
so I probably shouldn't show my shoes on the camera, but
No, you're
but
good.
we've got a pair of Teva sandals here.
Right,
Now these are about 2 weeks old. Okay.
right.
Now the story is, these have replaced a set of Teva sandals that I bought in 1998, and they're still functional, but they've separated on the bottom. So my wife and I 2 weeks ago on
20 years you're speaking.
yeah, the 20 years, and
Decades.
those sandals purchased right before we went over to live in the Middle East for a few years, so they've been all around the world with me. They're my babies.
Keep them or did you
I
keep
still
them?
kept them. Sonia's actually, they were separating on the bottom. She's actually glued them back together, so they're still functional, but we decided I needed to get a new pair. They've got all strings hanging off them, but so these are my new babies. They're starting to break in, but they're not as comfortable as the 20-year-old pair that I've
would
liked.
think so. But they definitely tell a story, right, of the individual you are. What is one thing you've struggled with over not the last 20 years, but like the last year?
Sure. I think the thing that it's kind of a strength and weakness type thing. The thing I struggle with the most is self-reliance, being too self-reliant, as far as believing I can do anything, and that can be a real positive, but it can be a real negative. So it's good to be positive and self-reliant and have faith in yourself and to do that. But at the end of the day, I can't do anything really in and of myself. I've got to rely on God. I've got to reach out further. So when I face a problem, my biggest challenge is believing I can solve it and trying to bulldog through it. That has me always taking an action, always driving forward, always working. And sometimes it's not the right thing. Sometimes you just have to sit and wait and have patience. So that has been the biggest challenge, is learning not to be reliant on myself. And that kind of translates to challenges that I face and waiting, but it also translates to asking people for help.
Yeah.
I can do this on my own. I don't need to ask you. I don't need to ask anybody else. I don't need to admit that I have weaknesses. So that's something that I think is my biggest challenge. I keep going back to it, and I keep making the same mistake over and over again as far as I get into a situation. And I'm trained as an engineer, so hypothesis, form the hypothesis, test the hypothesis, go through this, and I get in that cycle. And at a certain point in time, I say, wait a minute, why don't you sit back and pray, ask for help from above, or ask for help from somebody else? And so it's not a bad thing to be self-reliant, but at the same point in time, focusing on King Me is probably not the way to go through life.
That's interesting. I think with age, the reality comes, right? Doesn't it? Like with age, I can't do so much again. Oh.
Yeah, it's interesting. I turned 52 this year, so
Congratulations.
I still don't feel like an adult. So, but at 52, I think I've got to admit I'm an adult, and probably even a middle-aged adult, or going even a little further along. I don't know when you actually feel like you are an adult.
Well, like the guy we spoke to today that you introduced me to, he said, he's still a child, like he doesn't feel as though he's old, right? So yeah, and he's 82, right? So yeah,
So
you have some time.
there's something about the mindset, and so I think when you talk about a child, as far as you look at a childlike mindset, as far as the innocence and the openness and the willing to learn and everything, that's something that you want to try and keep. And if you keep that, I think you do stay young. That's something that I would hope I could keep for quite some time, all the way until my last days show up.
I hope so too. Come to Trinidad though, we'll help you, keep you on.
I will see about getting there or someplace else. I need to do that.
Yeah.
And now my vacations are spent down on water, fishing in boats, so I might have to come down to your part of the world and find a boat down there and chase some fish.
Yeah, we know a few people.
I
boats,
suspect.
Yeah.
Suspect that.
When you heard that this guy from the Caribbean was coming to visit you, what did you think?
I was excited. As far as we talked, it was 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Been following your story and everything, and I just thought it was neat as far as you coming here to the States and spending the 12 weeks here and traveling around. And I've been watching you travel and was looking forward to you coming up here. So when you reached out a few days ago and reached out to kind of your community and said, hey, I'm coming, what do you think? I let you know that you were welcome and was just excited to have you come and spend a little time and just get to know you a little bit more face to face.
Yeah, it's fun. Like, you're the real deal. One of the things you did, like, so Curt contributed a lot to what I was doing very delicately. You've already been alongside me as I traveled, right? Just in and between. So I remember Headspace. You remember that?
Yep.
You like threw it out like who wants Headspace, and Headspace is an app that helps you to meditate.
Yep.
Yeah, that helped tremendously. So yeah, he's definitely been that guy that's been there, you know, in the midst. So he definitely walks the talk. Do you have any regrets? Like any regrets of anything? And you're 52 now. Any regrets?
I don't think so. There's specific things that we've all done wrong. I'm not going to go into that. I don't feel like I'm embarrassing myself, but everything happens for a reason. So, I've gone through some things that have been pretty challenging, but you learn through your failures. I mean, I learn through failure, and I look at a failure as an opportunity to learn. So when I look back and I say, okay, this didn't go right, that didn't go right, that didn't go right, or I didn't do the right thing here, I could have done something better, yeah, maybe, but then I wouldn't have that experience.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have that experience, then I wouldn't have that knowledge of what happens when you do the wrong thing. So would I prefer certain things not to have happened? Yes. But at the same point in time, would I be the same person I am now if they hadn't happened? And I'm positive I wouldn't be, as far as some of the things I've gone through caused me to really be introspective and turn to others for help and listen to them. And so I don't really have any regrets.
What are you excited about?
I say everything. I'm excited to see what the next stage holds for me from a relationship standpoint. That self-reliance trait has had me very isolated, interacting with people but not really opening up to people. So over the last 3 years, I've really taken that on, and I've started to embrace the concept of vulnerability. Came across was a lady named Brene Brown.
Right.
Have you seen her stuff?
No, I have not.
Neat lady. I would really look at. She got a TED talk on vulnerability, and what I've coined as my phrase is vulnerability is the currency of relationships. So what I'm excited about is actually having the faith in myself and the faith in others to actually open up and seeing what that leads to from a relationship standpoint. What I've been seeing is we all go through things, and some things that just aren't pleasant, and we don't like to share. I mean, there are things that we hide inside of us, and it's not good. It kind of festers and can tear you up. What I found is as I've built stronger relationships through the different mastermind groups I've been part of. Aaron Walker's Iron Sharpens Iron group has been really huge. I've started opening up to more folks and sharing what my challenges are, and that's caused other people to open up to me, and all of a sudden the dynamics of people are just totally different. So I'm connecting with people more. So I'm really excited to see what that does. There's things happening because of doing that, because people feel like they know me more now because they're seeing what's going inside, that there's things that they're sharing, and we're finding commonalities and opportunities to do things together. And that's exciting to me, because there's things I would have never thought of in the past. And so it's a lot of fun. So it's I think the vulnerability thing and the relationships and how that all comes together is what excites me, because now there's a whole different way of approaching things. And you talked about regrets. I can say, well, wait a minute, with what I know now, if I go back through my whole life and knowing what I know now, if I'd have focused on relationships and vulnerabilities I do now, then I could have done awesome things. I could have done this, but I also wouldn't have had all those experiences doing it this way. And so it's, but that's what excites me, is kind of the connecting with people and the relationships going forward. It's a little different than the engineering quantitative type world. So looking forward to that.
Very educated guy, just saying. Super humble. Where's the best place for people to connect with you?
Best place to connect to me is probably on the website, www.f5fp, F as in Frank, the number 5, F as in Frank, P as in Paul.com. I've got a little scheduling widget on there, so you can shout out for Schedule Once. It's a nice little tool. You can actually go on there and book time. I've got time slots just for a connection as far as you go on there, and you can actually book time for a Zoom meeting, so we can do a video call. Really cool technology as far as people can jump on there, book the meeting, it sets the room all up, and then I can get on the video call with anybody, any place in the world, and we can just chat. I love to talk to people, find out about what's going on. It's amazing how much you can learn just by talking to people.
Yeah. Well, who knows that better than me?
Yeah, I think I'll have a little bit of a challenge connecting with as many people as you, or would be. I love to learn from people. It was fun. We had lunch today with a group of people. It was fun to watch you talk to the people around the table, and it's clear, Angel, that you become very comfortable with drawing stuff out of people. As far as you can just see as you ask different questions in different ways to each person, but each person seemed to open up to you.
Yeah.
So that was a very very
interesting
thing.
It was definitely fun. Great people though. The Rotary Club of Naperville.
Yeah.
Amazing place. Yeah.
So
fun.
A nice group of people, very dedicated.
The chicken was really good, wasn't it?
The chicken was good, but you had the salad, man. In case you guys don't know, if Angel shows up, do not try and feed him chicken or beef or pork. You got to feed him fish. So they brought him his lunch, and he's like, "This isn't fish." And they're like, "No, sir." He said, "Do you have any fish?" They said, "No, we have a salad." He said, "Okay, give me the salad." So Angel is a pescatarian. Pescateer. So he only eats fish. Don't try and feed this man beef or pork. I think this is this is probably his way of getting the word out to people, so make sure that when he comes to your house, he can get the food he wants. He wants the fish and all that. So
definitely. But Curt, again, thank you. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for having that open heart in the midst of everything that you're doing. You definitely a giver. We spoke about it. This hasn't always been your path to be this person that gives so much, but thankfully for your wife, right?
Yeah.
She's definitely
positive influence.
Yeah, and that's great to see. So I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing. I definitely endorse this guy and what he does at F5FP. My apologies. So you can definitely check that out. F5fp.com, right? So, folks, see you next time.
Always fun, sir. Thanks for the time, sir.
Boom! See you soon.